Welcome, everyone. In this presentation, we are going to talk about epidemiological aspects of anxiety and its characterization. Different studies have shown that anxiety disorders are more prevalent than all of the other mental disorders in children and adolescents. This places anxiety disorders as the most common psychiatric disorder in young people, not only in Europe, but also worldwide. This is not a recent phenomenon, a consequence of COVID-19 pandemic. This reality started even before that. Pandemics just made it worse. In a general way, literature points out that anxiety disorders start in early ages, childhood, adolescence, early adulthood, reach their peak in the middle age until they tend to decrease during older ages. But is there more than one type of anxiety disorders? Well, the answer is yes. Anxiety disorders consist of seven core disorders. Selective mutism and separation anxiety are predominantly restricted to childhood, while the other five subtypes, generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, panic disorder, specific phobia, and agoraphobia, appear across the lifespan. Two entities, namely post-traumatic stress disorder and obsessive compulsive disorders, were classified as anxiety disorders in previous classifications, but they have been since reclassified as obsessive compulsive and related, and trauma and stress related disorders. So we won't talk about them during this presentation. From these, two subtypes will be highlighted. The first one, social anxiety disorder, which is a fear of negative assessment by others, teachers, peers, family, friends. This leads to anxiety about social situations or interactions, and if it persists in time, can cause great impairment in general functioning, adversely influencing social relationships, academic achievements, and employability, for instance. As we can see, this is the most common subtype of anxiety disorder in adolescents, the target group of the Wellbeing at Artificial Intelligence project. And this is why it is so important for those dealing with children and adolescents to be aware of it. On the other hand, generalized anxiety disorder is the most prevalent anxiety disorder subtype in adulthood. And considering children are supported by adults, parents, teachers, other caregivers, adults need to be aware of this entity so they can recognize signs, symptoms of pathological anxiety, and if it is the case, to look after help only if we are feeling well, healthy, and capable to deal with daily life tasks, problems, we will be able to help others to do the same. Generalized anxiety disorder is characterized by a marked worry about various domains related to the past, the present, and the future that may or may not have occurred, and we are only anticipating. It is a feeling of permanent worry. How can we recognize anxiety disorders in the younger population and sometimes in ourselves as well? There is a wide spectrum of signs and symptoms. The most visible ones are related to the activation of the autonomic nervous system, the system responsible for the fight or flight response of our body. The autonomic nervous system is the one that makes us fight a lion that comes towards our direction or run away from the lion. Its activation causes in the human body an increased heart rate response and an increase of the sweating. It can also lead to chest tightness, nausea, faintness, chills, and muscle tightness. In terms of behavior, in order to avoid the feeling of exposition to others' opinions and judgments associated with social anxiety disorder, the most prevalent subtype in adolescents, They tend to avoid or reluctantly engage in some activities. Sometimes even crying or tantrums may be present. A number of neural structures play a role in anxiety, but the one that gives it its strongest emotional component is the amygdala. The rational thinking prefrontal cortex is responsible for interpreting the nature of the threat and orchestrating a behavioral response. Other brain areas also respond to the threat, and the signals they generate turn on the stress response, activating all the body systems for a fight or flight response. Researchers believe that anybody can experience a bout of debilitating anxiety, but some people seem to be dispositionally inclined to anxiety. Their defense systems, possibly tuned by genes or temperament, possibly by early experience, possibly by over or underactivity of some area of the brain, are poised to overinterpret natural stimulus situations as threatening or to overreact to threatening situations. Thank you for your attention.